Hello, welcome back to PowerShell for Pentesters. In this video, we're going to talk about group policy objects and access control lists, and we're even going to exploit ACLs a little bit in this video. So first thing we're going to do is we need to open PowerShell as always. And I will make this so everybody can see so nobody complains. And let's copy our download cradle. So let's Control C and come over and let's import. Now that we've imported, the first command we can run is get net GPO, and this is going to check for the domain group policy objects. Now, in our domain, there's not going to be many of note. You typically will always have the default domain policy. You will have default domain controller policy. But scrolling down here, you'll see that we have two specific ones added to the course. And for our domain, WinRM Firewall TCP 5985, what this is doing is this is enabling Windows Remote PowerShell or PowerShell remoting within our workstations. And then we have enabled PS remoting desktops for that as well. So this is something I put in just so in the MPMP course we could teach PowerShell remoting, as well as here in this course we could utilize it a little bit. Other than that, there's really not going to be much for group policies here, and we're not going to show any exploitation of it. That's more of an advanced technique. Moving forward, though, we can look at object control, access control lists. So if we run get object ACL, we will print out all the access control list rules for the entire domain, which, as you can see, is quite overwhelming. So something that we can do is we can just Control C this and quit it, and then we'll CLS to clear our screen. Something that we can do, though, is run it with SAM account name. So if you remember when we did get net user and we expanded property SAM account name, so let's get net user, expand property, or it's get net group, and its group name. We'll just do engineering here, and we'll see that we have the engineering group. So if we do get object ACL, and I'm picking on this one specifically because I'm going to show you something cool with it. If we do get object ACL SAM account name, and we do engineering, and then we resolve GUIDs and hit enter, this will give us the access control lists for the engineering group, which again, there's a lot of them. However, it's far less than what the entire domain ACL is, right? So let's scroll all the way to the top, and we'll see first and foremost NT authority self. The engineering group has generic read and over itself. Authenticated users have generic read. NT authority system has generic all rights, which means it has control over that group. We also see, again, the same thing there. We see domain admins have generic all rights. But here's one that's interesting for our domain. This is something you might see in a real environment where a help desk group has generic all rights over another group for like changing passwords. Here we have the sales group misconfigured purposely within our domain to have generic all rights over the engineering group. This is something that would show up in Bloodhound if we were going to use Bloodhound. And basically what this says is that the sales group has permissions to modify the engineering group. Well, what can we do with that? Well, let's enumerate the sales group first. So we know sales is just sales, so let's do net group sales domain. And if we run this command, we can see that we have A. Tiroli, S.Chisholm, and Zane Dickens. We are conveniently S.Chisholm. So if we do next, for instance, we do net group engineering domain, we can see who the engineering group users are. And we can see that in the engineering group, we do not have S.Chisholm. But what we can do is literally say net group engineering S.Chisholm, add domain, and now if we run that again, now we are a member of the engineering group because we as the sales group have generic all rights over the engineering group. Now if we wanted, for instance, knowing that we're in the engineering group, we could look at the other groups within the domain too, and I can tell you right now that engineering has domain generic all rights over IT admins. So this would start to be kind of not a real, kind of experience compared to a real environment where you would have multiple groups in line with generic all. But certainly here you would be able to use this to try to pivot from one group to another and get access to that next group. Something a little bit more dangerous is we can also control those users completely. So let's say we want to just nuke r.smith. So let's do net user r.smith del from engineering. Sorry, so we need to do net group engineering r.smith del domain. And now if we were to run the domain, you can see that we actually are able to remove legitimate users from the group as well. So there are some implications, obviously, to improperly configured access control list rights, which is why principles of least privilege come into play and are so important, because we really want to make sure that only the people with the need for access have it. And in this case, the sales group having generic all rights over the engineering group is highly detrimental. So I'm just really quick going to just add our Smith back, because again, we can do that with this user. And now we can check one more time and see that our Smith is back in the domain. I encourage you just to tinker a little bit. Like I said, IT admins has generic all rights from engineering. So go ahead and query the engineering group. See what you can figure out with the generic all rights over IT admins, and see if you can add yourself to the IT admins group as well. I will see you over in the next video, and hopefully you learned something here today. Thank you so much for joining.